So this is my first video of my garden. This is a front garden and a side garden that I have, really. And so there's not a lot of privacy yet. I'll show you, I'm trying to start to get some attempts at some works of privacy here. But right now, this is what we've got. It's a pretty busy street there. Cars going by. So, coming to the front here, I have a clematis that's just gone over here, and it was purple, and it'll come back in the fall. Little dog coming through the gate. And I've got on this side of the arch, I've got this red flower here, this rose. It's kind of a junk flower. I think that the top part of the graft many years ago died, and this is what's come up from essentially the root. But every spring it puts up some really bright red roses from the graft. Down here, though, is what I'm really doing. This is an old Woolerton Old Hall rose from David Austin, and it's gorgeous and it's wonderful, but it's tiny. This is its first spring, and put it in bare roots in the fall. So it's going to get trained up over here, and it smells awesome. So it's going to go over that arch, and I think that'll be nice, but we're still working on that. The lamb's ear is what I use most everywhere to edge the garden, because it just is a great ground cover, and it loves the heat, it loves the dry, and we got a lot of that in Oklahoma. My purple irises are just going over. They smell wonderful. I've got them dotted through the garden now. I've got also repeated in the garden these knockout roses. It's a coral variety of knockout rose. Yeah, knockout roses. It's not a real rose, but the color is so pretty, and they're so tough, and they keep blooming, and it's Oklahoma, you know? I'm going to be struggling with that sweet little English rose. But these guys are doers for our weather, as the Brits would say. And this is a nice black elderberry. And I love the light flower with the dark foliage. That's also repeated in the garden quite a lot. And saw that in the gardens in England in 2018, and so happy to have it here, really starting to grow now. I've got repeated as some butterfly food, as it were. This is milkweed and catmint all over the place. And I tried some containers. These are my small containers here. This is carrots here in the front, just hanging out here. Got over here strawberries that are kind of, imprisoned against the birds. And this is my first attempt at strawberries. We're going to see how that goes, and I'll expand the idea of it. Keeping it safe from, thank you, Barkus, slugs and stuff in the pots, and that's worked out. That's been helpful against the slugs here. And these are my spinach. I'm able to grow spinach. They never germinate in the ground here. I tried it in a pot, and bang, they're up. And it's the beginning of May. It's May 3rd, so it's a little late for this, but, we'll get it a little bit. And just good to know that I can do that. Comfrey, I've got comfrey all over the place. It's great to cut down and use as fertilizer. And also, the bees are all over it all the time. Well, not this one right now, but they're almost always all over it. And we get hummingbirds. They get all over them too, which is great. And so, and the backdrop there, that is my wormwood, Artemisia. And it is awesome. Grew from seed, and I love silver. So I've got silver and pink and purple mostly in my garden. That is primrose. Evening primrose. It's kind of a wildflower here. It just weaves through the garden, and it's magical. Just all through May, it'll be doing this. And it kind of disappears, really. And that's fine. I don't mind. Some people consider it invasive. I say you go, little plant. And then I've got my English garden mix here generally. You recognize everybody, right? Look at that. Pin cushions. I've got coneflower back there that's coming on. I've got coneflowers that I've done from seed, and that's volunteered a lot in the garden, which is exciting. I used to think that coneflower was difficult, even though it's native to here, and it just took a couple of plants taking off, and now, bang, it's everywhere. Comfrey that needs to get cut down now, and I usually just chop and drop. Leave it there, let it rot into the soil. It's great fertilizer. And then sometimes I make a comfrey tea, which is great. And moving on, here I've got more of that Artemisia, that wormwood. This is kind of scraggly looking bee balm, but I've got bee balm mixed all over it too, because it's great for the pollinators. And this is its natural habitat. It's all different colors, and it's growing up now. It's about 3.5 feet now. It may get another half foot, and then it'll flower in the late summer. This little path here goes down to where the car is. And more silver, of course, with the lambs here. And the wormwood. And bee balm. And Verbena bonariensis, which I had to have when I saw it on Gardener's World. Daylilies, irises. Irises are about done. They were pretty. I've got some seedlings from last year of globe thistle, which are awesome. A little phlox there. I've got a little bucket in the ground, essentially, and I've got a dwarf papyrus that I just dropped in there. Got it at the garden center, and it's got a little, it's got bricks in there for climbing out, and some plants kind of dipping in so that things can climb out. And it's got a little oxygenator plant in there, and I got lizards for the first time last year. So I drop it in here, and it was a few months, and I start seeing lizards showing up, which is great. Maybe they'll eat something. I've got some little garden snakes too. That's our garage, and this is the side of the building that faces east. And these are, these tall plants are native elderberry. And each of these 4 is a different variety. And a woman at the farmer's market here was selling little starts. And so I thought, that sounds great. Let's do it. This one, this variety, is already getting little buds on it. So this should be great for the birds. I'm eager to have berries in the winter for birds. So I've got elderberry in various places. Oh, that's my Joe Pye weed. I think he's going to want to go to someplace a little sunnier, frankly. And got heuchera back there, and some bugleweed just for ground cover. And these coneflowers are starting to do their business here. More catmint. And I love cosmos. I got some going here from the garden center. I've got some going by seed on the other side. And I come around here. I've got, potted some evergreens. I'm going to put those in the ground on the side at some point when they start to get big for the pots, but they should be able to be there for a while. And I just think they're pretty for something a little vertical in this space. And these 2 plants against the wall there, those are beautyberry. And those beautyberries, last year they came with these beautiful, beautiful purple berries. And so they've doubled in size and they're shooting up again this spring. So hopefully they'll fill out there in the shady north-facing area. They should like that. The heat being such here that full shade is needed for plants that really want shade, because the heat gets really bad. More heuchera, more bugleweed, and the theme of my coral my coral rose there, that's the knockout. The Artemisia, trying it in the shade. It even does in the shade. That wormwood is something. I love the silver. So come over here, and the side garden. And you can see we've got the neighbors right here. So there's not a privacy thing going on here, but I've got some shrubs. Let me close this gate. I've got some shrubs going that are going to try to be my effort to be private. This, I just put up this structure here to support the other Old Woolerton Hall rose. They've just, like I said, come up from their very beginnings. This is my first attempt at some alliums, which are beautiful. They're doing great. And so this little kind of corner here is very nice, this little bed. These yellow irises were the first thing up this year, and they just were this great expanse of bright yellow from the end of March until now. It's April, it's May 3, and they are just going over now, just ending. And just a couple of days ago, those knockout roses in front of them opened. So it's a nice sequence I got going there. That's nice. And the allium have been blooming since late March, opening, it's kind of like little thistle-like things, and then they open to a small ball, and now they're starting to become these large globes. Got some more bee balm there. And these alliums, look at the size of those. So we'll see what happens with those. I got all these alliums in the fall and planted them, so we'll just see what happens. Got a bird bath. That's fun. Watching the birds take baths. We get lots of birds here. And lots of dogs, as you can hear. And so these here on this corner, you can see I put some shrubs. Now these shrubs should all grow to be about 8 feet. Coming around the edge here. So hopefully that will provide me with a little bit of privacy. But in the meantime, neighbors like my flowers. So that's nice. This coreopsis is another theme that's everywhere. And these pots, these are fake terracotta pots, and they're pretty good fakes, actually. And I decided this year I was going to try to put my veg into pots because I have terrible problems with the bugs. This so far is working because my eggplant, which is usually a struggle, because they get these flies that eat up the leaves, and the leaves look like lace at this point, you know, when they're just starting to get started. And look at that. The leaves are whole. So I think the pot thing is working. Barking dogs. It's a busy spot. Anyway, so there's more of my comfrey going on. More of my butterfly plants. My artemisia. Those are coneflowers on the very edge there. A bunch of them. They really are going to be in a few weeks a big stand of coneflowers that are really pretty. A lot of coreopsis and coneflowers here, and these bushes are nice. This is called ninebark, and it's a native. And this should get, like I said, like about, several feet tall. And it's got these pretty pale flowers on the stark foliage, and those will have berries then. And those berries are good for the native birds. So I'm happy with those. I've ordered a couple more to kind of fill in this line here because I think it's a good idea for a hedge. It likes the location. This is another one of the black elderberries. It's doing pretty well. I trimmed this one just to see what would happen. The other one I didn't. But it's coming on. It's good. It's doing great. And then over here, I just ordered these crepe myrtles. They're called ebony and ivory. And so they got the dark foliage and they have white flowers. And they're going to kind of come around this ninebark. And I'm hoping that, I'm standing on the other side here, there'll be a bit of privacy. When they get up to about 10 feet tall, the ninebark on the bottom and the crepe myrtle along the top to kind of mask us from the other house across the street. And the foliage and flowers should look good together, I think. And I'll, strip those up as standards. Like, as you can see, I didn't clean up the garden for this. And then back there, against the wall of the house, is sunchoke. Sunchoke, man, they go crazy. And they're almost invasive. But that's going to be a wall. Those are going to go up 10 feet. They're going to go up to those awnings and provide a great big green wall, which will be very pretty because then this whole area in here will have come up with the perennials and annuals, and it'll be a nice green wall behind it. So it'll be good for viewing from the street. People like it. And this is a perennial garden that I've got going here. And it's a slow one. So I think I need to add something in here that's going to go a little faster. The comfrey stand, the great wall of comfrey. You can see the bees. They are just loving the comfrey. And it's like that all the time, busy with them. Another one of those knockout roses. My tomatoes and the pups. My other eggplant, also not eaten by bugs. That was a little stick of a thing last week. So they're doing really well. I'm happy. And that planter there is peppers. I've got lambs here again, and these are more perennials in here they're just going along. I've got some annuals here. I've got some cosmos. Those are white. So I thought they'd be pretty with the white and the dark foliage around in this area. Silver and white, a lot in here. And then globe thistle, coneflower. I don't have a lot of different things. These, though, these are exciting right here. I've got 3 coming up of Cafe au lait dahlia. So that'll be exciting. I'm getting into dahlias because of Gardener's World. This is a purple grass that's going to come up with a little pretty pink kind of seed heads with this cosmos. I think those will be pretty together. And we got going right back here. I've got those seeds coming out of the pots. Those are some of my annuals, some cosmos and some cornflower. And then here I've got my zinnias coming up. Those are all pink zinnias in this corner here. Got some ornamental grass. And this corner I just have been weeding out. This was a mass of intense weeds right here in this very far corner here. This is I'll walk over here. This is the far south west end of the garden here. And that's the corner of the house there. And here's our second driveway on our side. But this was all intense weeds, and I have shoveled through that over the whole Corona period and gotten most all of it out. That very far end needs to get dug some, but that's been intense. We get weeds like nothing else. We get this crabgrass that it goes down a foot, and the roots of the thing, they can be like pencil sized. Oh, it's a misery. And so I'm building kind of a path here. I'm using just kind of the rubble from a chimney of the house that got taken down when we put on a new roof, and then the rocks that are in the backyard, so many rocks. So I'm kind of hauling them out and filling in these paths over time. I have dug out all this grass, but this is kind of a nice view from down here because you can see it goes up the hill, which I kind of like. It's pretty. It's my attempt at an English garden in Oklahoma, which is hard. But when those hedges grow up, I'm hoping that it'll feel more cozy.